Don't really need, but who cares? So, anywho, gonna give this a little bit of time for people to appear. But pretty much, yeah, I was originally going to call this the magical art of blowing it, but you know, that probably would be caught wrong. So it's just going to be about the magical uses of this stuff, incense. I'm handed to it. Thank you. This is still good. Oh, that's still good. Yep, that's still good black cherry. And that one's black cherry. This one is black orchid. So anyway, the magical uses of, I was just going to say the magical art of blowing it again, but anyway. So the concept of using incense, be it stick, hey Moochkin, be it stick, cone, even diffused, or even simply putting mixed herbs in hot water to make them steam. Incense is one of the oldest magical tools to be used and implemented. In fact, it's noted in most written book of shadows and grimoires and practitioner books throughout the world that incense helps entities become more apparent and more easy to like notice them on a kind of a physical level to some way, because the way that the incense reacts to them, it kind of shows their formation and kind of hits them in a way. So it kind of like shows like a form of them of some kind. So there's usually, I would have to say, probably the three most common that I can think of off the top of my head of types of incense is, well, for one, your obvious incense stick. And this simply, of course, if you're new here, well, you just simply light the tip of it, let it burn for a little bit, wait for it to turn a little red at the top, and just blow it. And then this thing's going to smoke, and then you can usually just smudge whatever you're trying to smudge. We'll get into why you're smudging with what afterwards and later. Another one is a cone incense. They're about yay big, and you just light the top of it. I will just let my finger on fire. That would have been bad. Light the top of it. Just let it, catch a little bit. It's gonna be like a little red, and then it's just gonna stay red. And then after about say 2 to 3, even 5 seconds, wait for it and blow it, and then just plop it on a heat-resistant surface, so that way it doesn't, burn a hole through whatever it's sitting on. I learned that the hard way many moons ago by lighting an incense, putting it on top of my PlayStation 4, it burnt a hole to the top of it. The thing still worked, but it's like, God, that was like, that was, in my younger days. Don't do that again. And then the third kind, yeah, but I mean, that thing's been long gone. But either way. Then the kind of the one that's the most alternative, and it's actually a lot more fitted for people who have asthma like I do. You would use like a essential oil diffuser. It can be like one of those big honking round ones, or it can be one like this. And this little one is a little portable one. So essentially what you do is you add the essential oils, or even your magical oils, or I guess you would say perfume oil, or just any kind of a oil that you wanted to plop in there. You can just put it all in there. But the only thing negative with this thing, the charger is probably as long as this finger, all the way to my first bracelet. That's how long the charger is. Here to there. That's not long. And that's not even like a foot. That's 10 inches. That's not impressive. But nonetheless. So, usually, depending on what blend of this stuff you have, Like for example, this one, Black Orchid. It says it's a rich, decadent orchid. Big word there. Fragrance with notes of tuberose, muguet, and sandalwood. It is soft and luxurious. I can definitely agree with that. So something like that, the Black Orchid. Oh, Lilith would have a ball over that. Lilith would like this. Nyx would like this. Hecate would like this. Hell, probably not as much because it's not as earthy. You can probably even get this to Isis, Mott. Pretty much the Morgan would probably like this, in my opinion. Probably, maybe Hera, but this one's kind of is like more towards the darker goddess. So essentially, Muguet, tuberose, and sandalwood. Okay. So essentially, a scent like this has a real alluring, flirty, mysterious, seductive scent to it. It's kind of like say if you were going to like a really fancy nightclub, and there's this one woman dressed in violet, and she's kind of like wearing one of those dresses you would expect to see someone to wear in a movie premiere. It's like a slit, and you can see like one leg and the other part's covered. The dress is violet. It's sparkly. She has like one of those fishnet veils over her face. You can't even see her face. And she doesn't really look at you that much. She sees you, but doesn't really seem impressed. But she kind of hints at you to go at her, like go towards her and talk to her. It's like a really pulley, sweet kind of a smell. So, and then here's one that's supposed to be for Black Cherry. I love Black Cherry. Now, Black Cherry on its own, because this is just Black Cherry, it's not mixed like that one. As a plant, cherry bark, like the bark of a cherry tree, is actually used to kind of get your significant other to sit. It's a very controlling, it's a sweet controlling love. It's like, best way to put it, think of it as you're telling your significant other, you know what, dear, let's just do what I want to do. No, we're going to do what I want to do. We're going to do what there you go. It's kind of like a sweet intimidation, but not really aggressive though. And pretty much the same thing goes with like the cone incense, depending on which scent you get and which blend. And if you actually want to be extra fancy, you can actually make them yourself. I don't have the tools to do that, so no luck on that one. And as for the diffuser, like this little thing, essentially you can get really creative with this little thing. I got it from Hobby Lobby for like 15 bucks, and I mean, it's really beneficial. You just add water to it, oils, and then shake, and then you just flip the switch. But in this case, to kind of like make an example of, kind of give a general idea, say for an example, we have Harold right here, and yeah, he's quite golden, I know, but still. We have Harold over here, and then this thing is actually a puppet representing insert whoever it is here. So say if we want to have Harold become all hoochie, obsessed, notice me, damn it, kind of a vibe going on. So this has been put as him. Okay, since I cannot light this inside, I'm gonna be using this for the example. So we have to figure out what kind of what oils to use to make hair will become all woozy wooey. So I'm going to grab a good pile of them. Not that one. Nah. Definitely that one. Okay, oh yeah, that one. And well, can't forget that one. Yeah. Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, I know I have a lot of bottles of this stuff, okay? It's a lot. Okay, brownies, where's my juniper berry? Is that it? I hope so. Oh, that's lavender and it's empty. That one. Okay, brownies, you're making me nuts. Definitely don't want to use that one because that's not a love oil. That's actually an oil that has something in stop moving, and we're not gonna be using that at all. That's very sweet little baby random. There it is. Imposter. That was not it. It was a prank. Nope, that's Frankie. You know, Burns, I'd absolutely love you to do it, but not in this very moment. So could you just be so kind of thank you, dear. See? Works every time. You just threaten them and they give it to you, just like that. In a loving way, of course. So anyway. So now this thing. Hey, loyalty. Yes. And I just got done talking about like the sticks, the cones, and the wet air. I don't know, but not Champa. I smell it and I think I don't know, my brain is like confused. So with this little pocket diffuser, we're trying to figure out what can we merge together to make a little hero right here be woozy wooed. So depending on what level of woozy woo you want, I guess we'll start with the ones that are probably going to be the most optimal, no matter what. Of course, obviously, we have our scooch. Over here. When in doubt, we can definitely most always use Rose. Because, well, this one's not really... This one has a little bit of the alcohol in it, but still, Rose is an option. Not using that one, though. You could. Yeah, but also Rose is like the staple love plant. Sandalwoods. I like that smell. And usually with sandalwood, that's usually your scent if you're wanting to actually communicate with something. It's also a really good kind of like setting the tone of like having things be like no negative Nancy in here. I'm gonna put a little bit of that in there for intent of interaction and no BS. Oh, okay, looks like that'll be our base then, because 3,000 drops decided to come out of the bottle. Okay. Another good one is, I don't know if you can read this one. This one's vanilla. Vanilla. Essentially, vanilla is like a really It's like Lilith in a bottle, but Lilith is a little bit not as sweet. It's like a sweet version of Lilith in a bottle. It is very empowering, very, you know, very alluring, and can be sometimes very, I can't stop eating it sometimes. No, don't put loaf in your mouth. That's not nice. You probably think, oh, look at you. You think you can put me in there. Oh, no, 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 no. It's okay. Adam thought the same thing too. And you saw what happened to him. He stopped moving. I'm just waiting for this drop or two to come out of here and then throw this bottle out because it's out. And also a quick tip, whenever you're using oils at all, this is like my little bit of a quote unquote hack. What you can do, you can just take the little dropper head out, and then you can actually, when it's about to be like completely out, when there's still like a little bit left, like about, don't know if you can see it in there, but there's like a very tiny minuscule bit left. Just fill this up with coconut oil. Shake it up, and coconut oil, since it's odorless, it'll just take in the plant. So essentially coconut can kind of mimic it, but it won't be like as good as it needs to be. And that way you can, don't have to worry about buying more of these oils. And sometimes these oils can be really expensive. And especially if you get like the really good kind. Like real rose goes for like, oh, I don't know, about $300 for a bottle that big. Yeah, it can be quite expensive. So we have sandalwood, vanilla. You could, well, this one might be like an honorable mention. You can put magnolia in there. You can, if you want to kind of like to be a more supportive kind of a love. But magnolia is mainly more kind of like conservative. If that makes sense. A conservative kind of a love. But that's just me. You can't go wrong with jasmine. Well, then again, if you're trying to attract a male, well, this is the one to use. If you're trying to attract a female, probably you would want to stick with, like, say, what's that called? I just forgot the plant. It'll come to me, but with jasmine oil, most of the time you can only get it as an absolute. But if you're getting it as a pur, that's probably like the most expensive. And the thing about jasmine though is it lulls like lavender, like kind of like intoxicates, but it's kind of more towards men, being woozy wooed, and it attracts more, and it can also attract more of a spiritually enhanced kind of a love, if that makes sense. Okay, what else can we put in here? Now you can put cassia in here. Well, for me, vanilla kind of is like a, you can't resist the sweet. Now, cassia or cinnamon, well, not really, or cassia and cinnamon bark are like Siamese twins, except cassia is a little bit sweeter. Cinnamon bark won't even care if it burns your mouth. So this is actually one to use if you're trying to give a good love tap. I'll put like one drop in there. Come on, just one. Thank you. I'm going to say any year now will come out of the bottle. Only 4 left to put in there. Now, Yangling. Yangling is pretty much like, it's pretty much the most, it's more of a flirtatious, loving plant. Like if this is a plant that you would pretty much imagine like going to high school and there's like the prom queen that's very flirty. That's Yangling. Everybody loves Yangling and she loves everybody else too, and she flirts with everyone. Somehow, for some reason, you see her flirting with the principal of the school. Don't look at me. She's the one who's doing it. So now we have 3 left. But hey, nothing wrong with that. Now next is one of my personal favorites. Oh, I love that smell. And just get that moistness off my nose. Next one is juniper berry. For men, if you have a sausage link between your legs, juniper berry is pretty much a good wake up. We're going to be pointing for the next 10 minutes. Okay, I'll stop smelling. You're fine. Hey, you know what? It's not easy, having a scent that you love too much that you can't help but just smelling it like too many times. Okay, next is the pink pepper. Every time. Every time. Pink pepper. Think of pink pepper as like, oh boy. Pink pepper is like think of like the really, let's just say a young adolescent male hitting puberty. And he thinks, he knows how to stick it, but, he's still fresh meat and he's really excited, but he thinks he can just stick where he pleases. Has a lot of energy. It's not a bad thing, it's just nature. And last but not least, the finishing touch. We have la patchouli. Now, patchouli has many uses. Patchouli can actually be used as a substitute for graveyard dirt because, well, it smells like dirt, obviously. And when you're doing nasty stuff with it, if you know what I mean, it can either do one of two. It can be come hither or piss away. One of the two. You just gotta inform it what you're using it for. It can pull in or tell it to piss it. It can draw to you or make things, kind of stop pointing at you. Is there any more? No, I think that was it. And if you're actually going to be using, like making a oil mix or anything of the sorts, and if you have, say, like a bodily fluid of a personal concern of someone, you can even do this on yourself. Like put your own personal concern in here, shake it up, and then mist yourself. Or you can even also coat your incense with a magical oil, so that way when you burn the incense, the magical oil will be burnt alongside of it. So that's another thought. So anyway, so here, I almost dropped it. That would have been lovely. As you can definitely see, there is some bubbles in there. So then now in there, you should see that there's like a mini Charybdis in there. So then pretty much this thing's all ready to go. So I'm just going to turn it on and just let it cycle through a little bit. What have I done? I made a mistake. So anyway, Herald. So essentially, it's quite simple. Since this thing's already baptized as Herald as the example, it's quite simple. You just shoot him in the face with it. And you just let it keep going. I'm dead serious. This is actually a very quick and simple way of working on someone. You just get a skull image, and then you just mist them down. Not moisten them. If you want to do that, you can. Be my guest. So yeah, there we go. Stop blowing. So then now this little guy is, well, little poor hero over here is now pretty much all soaked up. And now if you want to, since it's still kind of wet, you can just rub it on all into his head, just like, you're gonna be woozy wooing about me. And then just like that. That's a simple thing you could do. I don't even know why I was going to go about it this way, but if you want to actually do it like a really mean kind of like curse word, like say this is now somebody. If you want to, you can actually just go, and then yeah, just hold it like this for some time, right in the eye sockets. But sorry, Harold, it's okay. I can't see straight either, but I can still see. I'm not sure about him though. And I mean, now that I remember it, many moons ago, one of the things that I actually did, I had a wax poppet, and what I did was actually I put it like in a stand. I grabbed at the time I had like this love aerosol spray, so I'm thinking, I have an idea. Let me just use this love spray, and now this poppet, I'm just going to take the aerosol spray and spray it in the face with it. I'm going to put Harold back so he doesn't, sue me. But in all seriousness, sometimes that's just how creative you have to be with some of this stuff. Because really, you can, technically, yeah, the sky's the limit. And you can also use the same thing, like say if you wanted to attune a crystal. And now keep in mind, not all crystals can handle this. This one's a clear quartz, so it can, if I can get a grip. So, just like before. Just make sure you tell the crystal why you wetting it, and what the intention is, so that way it knows, okay, I know what to do. And just make it rain on it. Yeah, make it rain. Not that kind of rain. You do that, that's kind of mean. And well, and now this thing is ready to not be thrown at someone to woozy woo. Don't do that. Don't throw rocks at people. I mean, if you have to, just make sure they're not paying attention. No, don't do it. That was a joke. Don't do it. And really, I mean, there's like so many things you can do with using just scented smoke or incense. And you can even just simply have, like, say if you have a dedicated space for a divine or an entity you're working with, you just want to give like some recognition. Have his own, just go right over their space with it. Just I would recommend also, if you have like a statue or a picture or an image of them, don't shoot them in the face. Don't shoot them in the face. I just like when you just came in, just like, aha, I finally caught you alive. Oh, and I just so happened to be spraying you, Ruth. I'm sorry. Of all the times you'd appear, it's like, aha, I finally caught you. Oh, shoot. Really, cute? Really, dude? Of all the times, you have to be having that happen now? Sorry. Oh. No, my face is wet. Oh, God. Oh. God, now I feel all sticky and whatever. Yeah, it's just like of all the times. So other than that, I mean, that's really what I got for incense magic, and some. I would have to say some. Usually, when in doubt, usually frankincense, or I like to call it Frankie, is the go-to incense most of the time. Whenever in doubt, or you know, you can use dragon's blood as another optimal one. Other than that, really, that's kind of like all I got for that at least. So right now, it's open floor for questions. Throwing card. I'll just hit myself in the face with that. Throwing cardstock, whichever. Oh, I actually finished sooner than I thought it was. Well, let's not hit myself in the face with that. In another news, I'm about to hit my 4,000 hours of watch time, finally. Finally, like 3,000 years later. Thank goodness for life for you to do that. Good old Frankie. I call him Frankie because, you know, Frankie is a lot easier and a lot easier to spell than frankincense. I'm even surprised I still know how to swing. Oh, God, this is bad. I'm surprised I still know how to swing this thing. Swing this thing. Yeah. Oh, and I also had that interview that I was talking about last night too, if you happen to know. But if you didn't know, a friend of mine interviewed me, and yeah, we kind of just revisited like my first day and all that, and it got to the point where it's just like, so about this one individual that thinks, you know, drinking a human's blood is a good idea, and vampirism is biting somebody. Why? No. No. And yeah, I mean, you know, kids these days. And I got a hunch that something big is actually gonna happen pretty soon. And yep, it's probably that what's it called? Like that monetization threshold finally gonna be met. Finally. 3,000 years later. The thing I hate the most about these these chains, they're like, oh, can I get tied up? No, no, we're not doing BDSM, you silver chain. We're not doing that. I know you want to do, but not no more. Yeah, but I can actually do like the super chat thing and whatever. Because I think after, as soon as, you know, monetization, once that gets turned on, I'm gonna be probably maybe more than likely gonna be turning into like one of those YouTube breeders, but you know, not one that's kind of basic generic. Nice try. Because to me, being generic is essentially like how, I don't know, I'm just somebody who likes to just try and be whimsical about it, but depending on like depending on like what I'm feeling, because the Zodiac ones, I mean, that one's kind of like, okay, here's another Zodiac reader, but I mean, I do kind of disclose like, hey, this is intended for a rising sign of this, so if you're not a rising sign of this, fine, you can use your sun, but nowadays it's kind of hard to point that out, but still. And actually, I've also had a funny enough. I had my first troll too. Yeah, and he kind of made himself look like an idiot. Literally, he made himself look like, really, dude? You don't even know me. Uh, you don't know how you were subscribed to my channel? Oh, I don't know either. You probably clicked the sub button. Or you must be hacking something. No. Besides, if you click the subscribe button on me, you subscribe to me, dude. You did it, not me. He just kept spamming that in chat. And I'm just like, okay, you know what, Cupcake? You know, when I was your age and I wanted somebody's attention, I would say, excuse me, and not be a prick. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then I just started pulling, I pulled from my Tarot Z and, what other deck was it? I think it was the Grand Lux. And I pulled the Eight of Swords twice. In the Tarot Z depiction, it has a man and a big mosh pit of zombies in front of him. He has one machete in front of him, then he has another machete behind him. So I'm thinking like, oh, okay. Somebody has ulterior motives, trying to think that they're not as aggressive as they look. Yeah. And he didn't fool me one bit. Because as soon as, I'm like, you're going to have to prove yourself. As soon as I said that, he started going into hissy fit mode again. And I'm just like, told you. That's why I kind of felt like I should have brought the shiny stick on camera and just, like, well, I've got the shiny stick. You want to get hit by it? Well, usually when it comes to swords, at least for me, where is mine? There it is. Like with the generic. Yeah. Usually when I see, if I can find the one that I'm looking for. The classic one. Yep. Vampires are just anything that tries to force itself in and take your thunder and make you weaker, and then they actually get their energy from it. It's like, oh, okay. But pretty much like a generic, like, one is this one. Easy milkshake. Usually when I see this, I think, okay, yep, we have heartbreak, okay. We have doom and gloom. But also, do you happen to see that there's no blood coming out of it? Not a drop of blood on it. And even at the wound sites, there's no blood. So the blood and the life, and like the life force, is still in the heart. So despite it being in pain, it's still standing and it's still alive. So essentially, Three of Swords, card of endurance, sustaining injury and still standing, still putting up a fight, still can resist pain and suffering, can still keep going despite the hurt. And despite the weather, the love is still standing, because like the heart isn't. It's kind of like being pinned in midair. So it's like a suspension of love, and is being, put through the wrecker. It's still standing, but it's not at its best optimal state. At least that's my unique interpretation of it. Oh, another one. Then we have the Nine of Swords. Usually people are like, oh no. Well, how about this? Nine of Swords. What if this can be a representation of somebody weeping in appreciation because divinity saved their life, or something saved their life? And right before they go to sleep, they actually connect to deity, and then they realize that such deity saved them, or blessed them with something that they never thought they could have. That they're crying tears of joy and gratitude for it. I mean, just saying. Because as far as we know, how do we know why he's crying like that? Is he crying because of depression? Is he crying because he's so full of gratitude that he can't bear it anymore and he has to let it out? So he lets it out by crocodile tears. I mean, it's potential. That's another one. Let's see, what's another sword card that usually makes people go, oh god? Oh, I know. I have just the one. I have just the one. There it is. Probably one of the cards that when you see, you go, oh, whoops. She who is not having it, literally. And I think it's the Witch's Tarot. I think in the depiction of her, she's actually doing this. Someone. I think she is. But that deck's all the way buried underneath, so I'm not going to bother to go down and grab it because that would take a while. So yeah, well, usually this Queen of Sass is always mad. But in comparison, okay, I have about 7 minutes left. Look at that. Why? I have something else I need to take care of. Another one of my favorite Queen of Sass depictions is this one. And this is from the Universal Celtic Tarot. Let me just find her. There it is. There's this Queen of Swords, and now watch it turn into something better. This one now turns into this. Yeah, both queens are different. And I'm going to explain why. We all know about this one. But this one, she has a harp instrument in her hand. Her eyes are closed. And her sword is to her right. And it's stuck in some ice. So, when you merge air and water together, even though they conflict, usually that's the element of ice, most of the time. But anyway, when you have words and sound, because that's air, merging with the water element, which is feminine, you actually get the queen who can actually express herself through music. Through music, she expresses her emotions. So, Queen of Swords can be somebody who sings her emotions. And when you're actually able to speak your emotions and logically express them, wow, you got a perfect blend right there. Despite they conflict. Because yeah, that's kind of like a confliction point with air and water. At least that was one of my observations with the deck. And I mean, I like this deck, but I kind of don't. Sometimes I'm like, I don't even understand what's going on with this deck. So, because I'm like, I'm not really familiar with Celtic mythology. I just got the deck because it was like on sale for like $9.99. So I'm like, might as well get it. Might as well force myself to understand it. So I grabbed it. a lot of stag imagery in the deck. But then again, I think that is part of the Celtic belief system, like with Morgan, Artio, Cuchulainn, I think. And no, she's not from there. I think also Kalak, maybe? I know Bridget's there. Speaking of Bridget. So I figure, I guess I'll just I'll do a collective message before I go. And how come my chat isn't doing anything what it's supposed to do? It's not like really notifying me. Hey Michael, didn't you have a reading that had to be done yesterday? Because if you did, I'm sorry. I'll do it right now. My grandmother fell again for the 3rd time. So I had to take care of that. But now that I'm here, would you like your cardstock thrown at you? Fine? And yes or no? Okay. Number between 1 and 5. 1 and 5, and do you want demons and dark goddesses, or just one of them? Okay. Okay, we have yours, the Definitely Not Walking Dead Tarot, and both, okay. And what am I going to be looking into? That was anticlimactic. Listen at the cardstock a little bit. That sounds so bad. Okay. So we got incoming for stability, security, and divine messages. Okay. We will go with we'll go with 3 goddesses like how I usually do. First one is 1 in power. Second one is who must be sought out. Really it is. And the third is the one you mustn't forget. Do not know why that happened, but still. Empower. Chang'e. Obsession. And yeah, she's the goddess of bunnies. No, that was a joke. She's not. most sought out be the Morgan, sovereignty. And we shall not forget Baba Yaga for loss. So, now for the daemons. Well, daemons and some extra for some reason. Valak. Astaroth. And the Cochranus. I think I just mispronounced his name, and if I did, hit me in the face. So, Oracle-wise, let me just see. I'll corral this real quick. Okay. If there's something that you're trying to find the secrets about, or something that's hidden about somebody, and you've been fixated on it, make sure you don't, at the current moment, take advantage of something that's secret and kept hidden, and you're trying to figure out something, be it like something that's classified or something that should not be like spoken about, but for whatever reason you're feeling the need to know it. As long as you don't expose it in the current standing regarding like your security or just overall, if there's something that you need to figure out and actually discover because it might be kept hidden, you can go for it. Just make sure you don't use it for malefic intent to be how like, oh, so that's what's going on. This person's a two-timer. Oh, I'm gonna ruin them. No. That's not advice for that. But you must seek out the Morgan with Valak. Well, what I'm getting from this is you must seek out a way to make yourself appear not as a like pretty much put on a persona that makes you appear not as a threat, but just like the innocent butterfly, like be like the innocent flower, but the serpent underneath, literally. Probably while you're investigating, trying to discover something, make sure you put on a persona of not being a threat. And make sure you're pretty adamant on making sure that you're not a threat. Because the Morgan is an energy that's not afraid to go in your face. And Volok is a very deceptive looking kind of left-hand divine, but he also knows how to poison you. Bad. So be very assertive in making sure that you're putting yourself out as not a threat at all. But if something does come towards you and you need to defend yourself, or like any of your reputation or your well-being or your standing, fight. Just don't forget that appreciate the things that you may think are not of any value to you. And especially if you think something is okay to lose because it's not as attractive as it once was, that's not really the best way of going about it. Instead, appreciate everything, even when it's getting to its old age, because in its old age, it'll actually give you the most experience. Even if it's something or someone that you kind of feel about their old age can help a lot. Like with wisdom and choices to make, they'll probably give you the best 3D realistic. Anyway, keep hearing voices off of them. Make sure you don't take for granted the stuff that, even though it doesn't look pretty, it still has value to it. Everything has value up until the point where it's expired. That's so bad. And if it's not being taken appreciated, if it's not being appreciated, well, Baba Yaga would just come and just like and yoink it from you. At least for that's what I got for the Oracle side. I'm gonna scooch them up here. Get that one out of my way. And now we get to go into the definitely not Walking Dead zone. And this deck is thick, like thick, like extra room thick. So let's see what we come out. We're gonna go with just a regular cross, and I'll go with the stick too. Current standing. My card. F this deck, no. So, that's kicking it off to a really good start. Hate it when this happens. Encountering the King of Cups. We have a king and queen here. Wow. Cause of all this, High Priestess. Behind, backing up, Nine of Pentacles. On top of the head, or most desired outcome wanting to be brought about. King of Pentacles. A queen and two kings. Joke's on both of them. She's actually wanting them to fight to the death. No. And inbound coming towards you. Three of Swords, but this is a different kind of depiction of a heartbreak. This does not have heartbreak. Self-perception. Five of Cups, but this depiction I find so funny because it looks like the zombie's flipping him off. He's like flipping him off, I'm sorry. And there's crows and ravens all around him. Outside perception. Six of Swords. Hoping for, but also deathly afraid of. Or just take one card and throw it out of the deck. Two of Wands. And the outcome that is most likely to be coming about. Six of Wands. And three for clarifiers. Star. Five of Pentacles. Hey. And the Knight of Pentacles with some of that bull action. Not the Taurian joke again. So let's take it from the top. Okay, so here's how this is going to go. Current position. I don't know how to tell you this, but you're currently in the most optimal state that you can be in. You're intuitively in tune with yourself, and your highest point of self is actually alongside you right now. So pretty much currently, you're in a position where you're able to make a sound decision. But also, if the situation at hand involved you pretty much taking a big chunk of yourself and sacrificing a big chunk of yourself, this is really the time to also consider not giving anybody else your sense of effort and putting your priority in anybody else. Instead, you should most likely instead prioritize yourself and doing what's best for you. And if there's an incident when someone actually took advantage of actually caused harm to you, and this something that was like permanent damage, this actually may be involving that individual in the reading. But still, every time when the Queen of Cups pops up, I have to say, your best self is alongside you. You're encountering now the King. So you're encountering a state that's actually going to be very more emotionally mature, practical with his emotions, but also very supportive and is like a grounding rock. It's also helping guide you regarding your emotions and feelings. Since it's the King and Queen, this could be an incident where you have a perfect balance of masculine and feminine qualities going on at once. So you're in an optimal state to actually bring into existence anything you deem fit and manifest it. The cause of this is the High Priestess, and since this is the foundation, the cause of this reading is wanting to have something that's veiled, that's hidden by something that can't really be set in stone. And since this depiction, you have a bunch of zombies, and one of them is trying to reach for the High Priestess's toesy. It could also be a situation where you're trying to reach up for something higher than you to kind of help guide you and tell you what to do. And actually, in this depiction, the little knapsack she has in her arms, possibly she has the cure of all, like what to make the pandemic in this deck story come to a halt. It could actually be a cure to make all the zombies stop hissy fitting. So possibly looking for clarity to put an end to something that has pretty much been widespread throughout the life. Behind you, backing you up, is the Knight of Pentacles, saying what's behind you is really you being really firm and really secure within yourself. But also backing you up could be somebody who is as an equal to you. And now they're actually really helping guide you to the state where you are now. Or this is the situation of you being physically practical and standing on the 2 feet. And then the current position being the Queen of Cups again. That could be your feminine side being balanced with this Nine of Pentacles. Most desired outcome to come, or what's on top of your head, is the Knight of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles. Well, since you already have another king here, with this depiction though, you have definitely kicked the bucket Captain Jack Sparrow. And this depiction has him kind of looking out to sea. So essentially you're kind of wanting, instead of it being more focused on emotional matters, you're kind of wanting more of a sense of like, okay, I have this ability to, move across this big wet field. I'm actually able to expand practically and logically and be able to budget out how and plan strategically how I can invest in this endeavor of mine that involves spirituality. That's kind of like what you're wanting to have as your focus, having realistic, practical, and not being caught off guard and being surprised by sudden BS. Coming towards the face, 3 of Swords. So this 3 of Swords, some people think, oh no, heartbreak. This depiction, you see the sword going through the skull? That sword going through the skull is actually a symbolic message of showing something that was a once train of thought has been killed. And if you notice how the skull is underneath the ground, that can definitely show that this way of thinking is going to be long gone for some time. So coming towards you, even after we're in this reading stone, potentially coming towards you is a realization that, oh, that way of thinking I had is now dead, and it's been a while. And then the sword that was driven through the skull will still stay there, and it'll keep it dead. So coming towards you, a way of thinking is going to be ending, and it's actually going to help lay the foundation for you to build on it, something new and supportive. Self-perception, in this depiction again, we have the zombie flipping off the ravens. But what I'm getting from this is, your current standing, you're kind of a little bit fed up with like how some messages don't make any sense, and the crows and ravens are like, ah, ah. And you're like, what the heck are you saying, you stupid birds? Nevermore, nevermore, nevermore. Oh, bastards, nevermore. Yeah, but still. You might be thinking that how come divinity is kind of like trolling you in some ways and not really being clear. But symbolically, when you have ravens and crows around you, that's Saturnian energy. And Saturnian energy is actually one of the foundations for having a King of Pentacles. Because the King of Pentacles is a figure that's grounded, practical, realistic, and is a good strategist. Being surrounded by ravens and crows, that's a good thing because that shows Saturnian energy is alongside of you. The outside perception is seeing you as the Six of Swords. Now, this depiction, there's nobody there. And it kind of shows just there being a boat by itself on the lakeshore. So, those outside of you are already aware that you probably have already taken the steps, and they're not really going to stop you because you've already progressed so far. They're aware of it. They're not going to be an obstacle because, well, you're already on the move to get it. So, them trying to block you now, it ain't going to do anything because you're not, you're not present in there. So they're pretty much just not being any kind of resistance. Hoping for it, but also deathly afraid of the Two of Wands. This depiction I'm sorry, I have to say this. Every time when I see this, we have two angel statues and then a crucifix and a man being on there. Whenever I see that, the crucifix, the first thing I think of is like, well, you know what the pagan symbol for a cross is, right? It's an erect man part. So I was like, so he was hung on the cross, huh? How funny. He was hung. On, yeah, a phallus. Funny. I can't get that out of my head, I'm sorry. So you're hoping for to be able to make the right choice, and as well making something that you'll be able to gain the most out of. And you're wanting to ensure that your future security in grabbing the right angel to grab, because that's the Two Wands. And depending on which figure you grab, one can actually guide you in the right direction, and one can actually kind of misdirect you. If you notice how the faces of them are, you have this one, actually you have one looking up and then one looking kind of like more down towards the person looking at the card. You can grab one that's more focused on divinity, then you can grab another one that's more focused on the 3D. Both are good choices, but that's the choice you make. Outcome most likely to come about? Well, I have to do this. It being the Six of Wands, but now watch this. So, maybe you might not even want to choose one of the angels. Maybe you might choose the path down the middle. Or you might perfectly balance between the two wands. And what you can maybe even do too your outcome actually might use something that is sacrificed as your as kind of like a jumping step. Again, like what I said with this. Wow. I look at that perfect straight line. Just a perfect straight line. This is like coming towards, hoping but fearing, and then the outcome. I was like, it just perfectly goes up just like that. So, just ensure that the choice you make sure it's able to sustain you, because if you don't, the victory might be short-lived because you might get overrun with other things. But definitely if it's that mobile number down below, then okay. But the WhatsApp, I don't have WhatsApp. I used to, but not anymore. It just would not work properly for me. So, as I was saying, so clarifying your Six of Wands, we have Star, Five of Pentacles, and then the Knight of Pentacles. So most definitely what I'm getting is sometimes you may have to just really take some time to yourself to look up and clarify yourself, but also consider maybe looking at astrology movements and placements and how the transits are going. And if you have to, just separate yourself from the crowd. Don't go with them. And just stay on your own growth and focus. Don't cross the bridge and become like one of them. Just take your slow and steady time with it. And when you're learning about somebody's secrets, or if you're trying to keep, you need to also seek out going very slow and steady and make yourself not be seen as a threat regarding something. So just make sure you proceed with caution with your security. And the best way, again, you have crows and ravens around you. That's Saturnian. Use that Saturnian energy around you while you got it. But most definitely, you're in a state where you definitely have the means to change your way of thinking. And also let go of something that's not really helping you out. And it's kind of being a burden mentally. And it's causing more of a hindrance. 12:24, oh boy, oh god. So anyway, I have to run because I have like another thing I have to do in like 6 minutes, and I'm going to be in deep doo-doo if I don't get it done. So, see you guys on the next one. I'll be late if I go.